It's hard to imagine how terrifying it would feel if all of a sudden you found yourself in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. You'd probably try to flee to a safe place or hide until it all blew over. But what if those around you had no intention of doing any of those things? Well, today I'll tell you exactly what would happen to a family that tried to escape a deadly virus. At the beginning of the story, we are shown a happy family consisting of a husband named Jason, his wife Beth, and their little daughter playing nearby. The couple was enjoying their last moments of peace because in a few hours they would have to go to work as usual. Jason worked at the city hospital as a doctor, while Beth was a kindergarten teacher. Life was going well for them, and nothing foreshadowed that in a few minutes, something terrible would happen to them. While the husband and wife were talking to each other, they suddenly heard screams and cries from outside. When they rushed out of their house, they saw people running around in panic, abandoning their homes and belongings. There was total chaos everywhere. Jason and Beth noticed that even their neighbors were hurriedly emptying their house. So Jason decided to ask one of them what was going on and why they were leaving their home. But the neighbor was in such a hurry that he didn't even bother to respond. Then Jason saw the neighbor's son tying up his most valuable belongings. Jason asked the boy where he was going, and the boy replied that his dad's friend was a government officer and he said that a poisonous virus had spread. Ordinary people were turning into monsters, attacking others and showing aggression. That's why everyone was trying to leave the city. Before Jason could say anything, the boy's mother appeared, grabbed her son, and started pulling him away. Jason then asked her what virus her son was talking about, but she only said that this was not the time to explain and that he should take his wife and daughter as far away from the city as possible. Hearing this, Jason and Beth were terrified. Without saying a word to the neighbors, they immediately put their family into the car and drove toward the city's outskirts. But on the way, they saw the same neighbors who were fleeing earlier were now returning to the city. This made Jason very uneasy, and soon after, they got stuck in a traffic jam. Getting out of their car, they discovered that the only exit from the city had been blocked by the police. Helicopters circled the skies. And when the traffic jam began to move, Jason and Beth saw a huge crowd of people standing near the cars. An authoritative voice echoed through the air, announcing that a deadly virus had spread and everyone must return to their homes immediately. But Jason had a feeling that something was wrong. If the virus has spread, shouldn't they be letting people out, not forcing them back in? That's when a massive boulder tumbled down from a mountain and crashed onto their car. The ground shook as if an earthquake had struck. From behind the mountain, 2 military fighter jets soared into the sky and sped toward the city. Jason and Beth watched in horror as the jets began bombing the city mercilessly. It seemed like the city would never stop burning. In the blink of an eye, the streets were engulfed in flames and turned to ash. Beth instantly realized that if they had obeyed the police and gone home, they would already be dead. Then the jets turned on the fleeing crowd, firing mercilessly. Everyone began to run away in panic, but it was too late. Those who were fast enough managed to hide in the forest, while those who weren't were burned alive. Jason and Beth knew they couldn't outrun the jets. And just then, Beth spotted a school on the mountain and said maybe they could hide there. The family scrambled up the slope, bombs continued to rain down, exploding around them, and the bridge behind them was destroyed. Miraculously, they reached the school and managed to find a hidden underground tunnel. They rushed inside, slammed the heavy door shut, and an explosion shook the ground above. When the bombing stopped and the dust settled, Jason and Beth realized that they were incredibly lucky. If they hadn't found the tunnel, they would have been killed along with everyone else. So they stayed in the school until the fire died down, and they were sure that the danger had passed. After the smoke cleared and the smell of burnt flesh disappeared, Jason and Beth knew that their lives had changed forever. They had survived the apocalypse, but now they had to try to rebuild their lives in a world that was completely different from the one they once knew. Deep within a secluded bunker, nestled in the heart of a deserted city, a family of 3, Jason, Beth, and their young daughter, Joey, have been hiding for what feels like an eternity. The chilling reason behind their confinement is a terrifying mystery. What sinister virus did the government eradicate an entire city to contain? One haunting question remained. What kind of virus was this that the government chose to annihilate an entire city rather than fight it? They couldn't understand. But one thing was certain. If they wanted to survive, they had to stay hidden in the bunker. Jason sealed the door with iron chains, determined to keep his family alive. Life underground was harsh. Every day meant the same stale food, muddy water, and endless games of cards to pass the time. Cut off from the outside world, they lost track of days. Joey, their daughter, once asked her father, "How long will we stay here?" Jason had no answer, only replying, "Until the virus is gone, then we'll go out." Then, months slipped by. Over 300 days passed inside the bunker. Through a makeshift periscope Beth had built, Joey often peered outside. All she ever saw was devastation. Burned houses, empty streets, not a single living soul. She whispered, "Maybe we're the last people alive." But her mother reassured her that perhaps, like them, others were hiding somewhere too. As weeks turned into months, their food supplies dwindled. One day Joey begged for a whole can of food, but when they opened it, it was empty. A small hole at the back suggested something had stolen it. Checking the rest, they discovered 12 more cans had been eaten through. Beth noticed the ventilation grate and realized, a rat must have gotten in. If we don't kill it, it will destroy everything we have. The next day, the rat appeared again. Jason tried to kill it with a knife, but it escaped, knocking over a lantern in its dash. Flames erupted. They barely managed to extinguish the fire, but smoke billowed out of the vents. Their greatest fear now loomed. Their hiding place was no longer secret. The following morning, smoke clouds still lingered outside. Jason and Beth decided they had no choice but to clear the evidence. They made Joy promise to stay underground no matter what. Then they left. Through the periscope, Joey saw her parents trying to cover the bunker's entrance. But then, from the forest, she spotted a black shadow racing toward them. She screamed their names, but they couldn't hear. In desperation, she ran out of the bunker. But when she reached the spot, her parents were gone. She shouted for them in panic. Suddenly, a hand clamped over her mouth. She turned. It was her mother. "Joey, there's no time. We have to go," Beth said, pulling her close. Just seconds later, a herd of deer thundered past them. They had narrowly escaped, but Beth's face drained of color. She whispered, "I think whatever is out there, it's not alone." They ran back to the bunker and locked themselves in. Days turned into weeks, and the family emerged from their bunker, forever changed. The virus may have been contained, but its impact on humanity was evident in the deserted world around them. Now, carrying guns for protection, they roamed the empty streets, searching for other survivors. They found none, only remnants of the past. One evening, around a campfire, Joey asked her parents, "Will we ever find other people?" Jason looked at the flames, his expression grim. "If we do," he said softly, "the world won't be the same." As the night deepened, the silence was broken only by the crackling fire and the distant howls of wolves, or were they deer? In the eerie darkness, they huddled closer, 3 figures seeking solace in each other's company. The end may have come for many, but for this family, it was just the beginning. And whatever horrors they faced, they would face together. Or would they? The virus may have been unknown, but its effects were all too real, changing not just their world, but maybe them too. Jason ripped his leg from the monster's grasp and tumbled into the shaft. It landed on top of him, snarling and clawing. Beth, holding Joey close, descended into the pit with them. They were met by a sight that made their blood run cold. At the bottom lay several mangled corpses, victims of the creature's merciless assault. But there was no time to grieve. With a desperate leap, Jason scrambled onto a ledge, pulling Beth and his daughter after him. As the creature emerged from the shaft, they huddled together, terrified. Its glowing eyes scanned the surroundings, searching for its prey. Then it vanished into the darkness, leaving behind an echoing screech. They had escaped certain death, but their ordeal was far from over. Emerging from the bunker, they found themselves in a nightmarish landscape. The ground was littered with the bodies of deer, their frantic stampede moments before offering a chilling foreshadowing of the deadly predator lurking nearby. Now, they had to get back to the main road and find a way to warn the others. But how could they possibly survive long enough to do that? Jason, armed with a baseball bat, led the way, his senses on high alert. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. The forest seemed to be watching them, waiting to pounce. Suddenly, Joey clutched her father's leg, pointing to a clearing ahead. A group of soldiers were setting up camp, oblivious to the lurking danger. Jason's heart sank. Those soldiers were about to become sitting ducks. He had to warn them, but how could he get close enough without being spotted? Then he noticed a fallen log near the edge of the clearing. An idea formed in his mind. Carefully, he led his family off the path, moving silently through the underbrush. When they were close enough, Jason left the safety of the trees and stepped into the clearing. The soldiers, engrossed in their camp chores, didn't notice him. He quickly hid behind the log. Moments later, a large shape emerged from the trees. The soldiers, finally spotting it, raised their guns and opened fire. The creature let out a deafening roar and charged forward. Chaos erupted in the clearing. Soldiers screamed and scattered as the beast rampaged through their makeshift camp. Jason, watching from his hiding spot, felt a surge of triumph, but his relief was short-lived. The soldiers might have wounded the creature, but they hadn't killed it. And now they knew there was a human presence in the forest. As the creature retreated back into the trees, Jason saw something horrifying. One of the soldiers, his face pale with terror, stumbled out of the underbrush, pointing a shaking hand at Jason. The other soldiers, equally frightened, followed his gaze and trained their weapons on Jason and his family. Jason, taken aback, held up his hands in surrender. But his protests fell on deaf ears. The soldiers, believing him to be the monster's accomplice, advanced on the family, their faces grim and determined. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the forest. The soldiers froze, turning their heads toward the trees. The creature had returned, and it was angry. As the beast stepped into the clearing, its glowing eyes fixed on the soldiers, Jason seized his chance. Wasting no time, he sprinted for the woods, Beth and Joey close behind. The creature let out another deafening roar, this time charging straight for the soldiers. They fired, but their bullets seemed to have no effect. Enraged, the creature swatted at them with its massive claws, sending rifles and men flying. Trapped between the angry beast and the heavily armed soldiers, Jason knew he had to act fast. He turned and sprinted in the opposite direction, racing deeper into the forest. Behind him, he heard the soldiers scream and the creature let out a victorious roar. Hope surged through him. Maybe now he could find a way to warn the others about the real monster lurking in the shadows, but as he ran, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Jason's eyes met Beth's. He knew there was no escape. "Whatever happens," he said, his voice steady, "don't let anything happen to Joey." The creature yanked him back into the bunker. Jason didn't resist. He snarled, "Come on then, let's see what you got." His screams echoed below, buying Beth and Joey precious time. She dragged her daughter away, tears streaming down her face. They ran until they reached a highway, only to find a towering wall blocking every exit. Trapped. A helicopter appeared overhead, its spotlight blinding them. Before they could run, a weighted net dropped from above, ensnaring them. Beth struggled, clawing at the mesh. Through the gaps, she saw shadows with glowing eyes approaching. But then the truth revealed itself. They weren't monsters. They were soldiers, clad in gas masks and night vision goggles. The eerie glow of their lenses had made them seem inhuman. The horrifying truth struck. The military wasn't hunting monsters. They were hunting them. Beth and Joey had been infected all along. The airborne virus lived inside them. There was no cure. Elimination was the government's only solution. Beth begged them to spare her daughter. But when she saw no mercy in their eyes, rage boiled inside her. Black veins crawled across her face, her body twisting with the virus's fury. Suddenly, a soldier's throat was ripped open from behind. Blood sprayed. It was Jason, alive but no longer human. He had transformed. His strength was monstrous now. He tore through soldiers like paper. But bullets riddled his body, and soon he collapsed. Beth and Joey broke free of the net and ran. Beth shoved Joey into a car for safety and faced the soldiers alone. Her transformation had begun. With terrifying strength, she slaughtered several men before falling to their bullets. Joey, watching her parents fall, felt rage ignite inside her. But just as her veins began to glow green, Beth, with her last breath, stopped her. She couldn't let her daughter turn into a monster. Slowly, Joey's glow faded. She was human again. Jason lay dying nearby. With the last of his strength, he touched his daughter's cheek. Then his hand slipped away, his eyes closing forever. Another helicopter arrived. Beth carried Joey into a tunnel, stumbling in despair. But deep inside, a faint light glimmered. A boy stood there. The same boy Jason had spoken to at the beginning. He led them into a cavern where other families hid. They were survivors, all infected, but still human. They explained the truth. The virus was dangerous, but not instantly fatal. It only consumed those who gave in to rage or fear. They had learned to control it, to master themselves. The soldiers weren't fighting monsters, they were slaughtering victims. And the true monsters, the real monsters, were human all along. The end.